All right. Sorry, I had to readjust the mic there. All right, let's do this one more time. All right, we're back. Tasty Crypto Show. I'm Ryan Grace. With me today, of course, Katie McGarrigle, the wizard, the Jedi.
The Viking now?
The Viking.
Yeah, I'm playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla. So I've got a repertoire of characters and things under my belt. Yeah, I'm raiding villages.
Hell yeah.
I'm pillaging monasteries. It's a fun time.
I love it. I didn't know that you were a big gamer.
I'm like, when I was a kid, I used to play with my little brothers, right? Like, I grew up with like a Nintendo and a PlayStation and stuff like that. And then, yeah, obviously fell off of it for a while because life. But yeah, I've recently fallen back into it. And yeah, now I'm playing Assassin's Creed. It's huge. I don't think it's going to take me like a year to finish.
Okay.
It's massive. But yeah, I've got a lot of different titles that are now part of my extracurricular activities, I guess.
Katie the Viking.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've been watching Beans, the new Tasty Crypto show that streams on Mondays and Fridays on the Tasty Crypto channel, only on the Tasty Crypto channel.
Oh, yeah. Make sure you're subscribed.
So, little plug there. But Shelly, Dan are big into the metaverse. I would say more so Shelly. We'll have to check with Dan. Are you familiar with this? Because I think you would fit right in there. Your character, like, I want to see what your Viking looks like because I know you can probably design the look and feel and what they wear.
Yeah.
We need to bring the characters to the show.
I know. Yeah, I really need to. But the problem is, like, when it's fully my own choice to like customize, I get paralysis.
Okay.
So I'm gonna need Shelly and Dan to really guide me to figure out who my like avatar is.
What does your avatar look like? Or maybe we can get a picture for the next episode. But what does it look like in the game today?
So it's
like armor and things.
Armor. I'm mostly using a spear and a souped up shield.
Weapon of choice. Okay.
Weapon of choice. I've also got this cool like, I don't know, like knife that comes out from my forearms, so I can assassinate people.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but hair-wise, she has like kind of like a slick back, but like braided thing going on, and then she's kind of buzzed on the sides.
Ooh.
And she's got like a tat right here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mysterious, edgy.
Yeah, she's definitely like she's like a border level like Valkyrie type. Like she's a big, strong woman.
You ever thought about maybe bringing this into the real world?
After
the wedding, post-wedding,
maybe
right?
After the wedding, I'll just like buzz parts of my hair and
little face tat.
I'm sure he would love that. Yeah.
Surprise, we're married now.
This is the real me. Yeah, no, I do need to work with Shelly and Dan though, and good call on gassing up Beans because yeah, you guys are doing really cool stuff, and like I'm very excited to see how that's ultimately going to maybe enter some of the world of what you're doing with the wallet too.
Yes,
it's gonna be great.
We've got a lot coming soon, a lot of product updates to talk about as well. New app update for the TastyTrade mobile app, brand new crypto trading interface.
Oh yeah.
From what I've been told, it's a phased release, but it'll start going out to people today. And I'll have to double check, Katie, but we've got 5 new tokens that we're adding. I was told check in closer to 5 o'clock. We're almost there. So if they don't go out tonight, they'll be out tomorrow, but 5 more tokens to trade. We'll talk about this at the end of the show if we have time too. But a lot of product, a lot of content. We're cooking in the cave, as we like to say.
In the crypto cave.
That's right.
I love it.
But let's jump into it. There's clearly a lot going on in the crypto markets.
Yeah, my notifications on my phone have been blowing up all weekend and all day.
It's a new world. A lot of this is, I guess, Trump administration, President Trump induced pumping, dumping. We're going to talk crypto, strategic reserve, tariffs, price action, all that good stuff. But before we do, we're streaming live on YouTube.
Oh, yeah, we are.
So let's see who's in the chat. If you're not in the chat, get your ass over to the Tasty Live YouTube channel. And, of course, type something crazy in the chat.
I have something crazy. It's been like 3 weeks since you and I have done this together.
It's been a while. People were like, well, obviously they shut them down. Have you watched that show?
Yeah, get the hook. Yeah, get him off the stage.
Who do we got in here? We got Lone Sophos, what up? CM, Grumpy Mike, Big Deal Donuts.
Big Deal Donuts.
Yeah,
nice.
The gang's all here.
The gang is all here. Shout out. What's up, everybody? Type something crazy.
Where do you want to start?
I don't know. I mean, do we start with reserves?
Yeah.
Or where do you want to start?
Let's talk about that for a second. Because I don't know, maybe they walked this one back. I don't know. I don't think it was received as well as it was intended.
Sure.
Right? We've known since there were the initial executive orders around digital assets, establishing a president's working group on crypto. It's being headed up by David Sachs, et cetera, et cetera. We know that Trump is the crypto president. I mean, you can see here in the tweet, the goal is to make the U.S. the crypto capital of the world. I think it was previously referred to as crypto capital of planet Earth, which I prefer. But here's the initial tweet, which everyone freaked out about because there was no mention of Bitcoin or Ethereum. Instead, a crypto reserve that includes XRP, Sol, that's Solana, and ADA, that's Cardano, maybe just to get started. And this was followed up with
well, of course, Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Obviously, you idiots. You know, that was implied.
The ding dongs.
So this tweet hit yesterday afternoon, if you were paying attention. And I mean, some of these tokens, Cardano, I think Ripple or XRP here, we're up maybe close to 50%. And you are seeing just carnage in the market here today on the back of, I think, fresh tariff announcements, or just I guess the month has passed since the last ones, and it is time now. But this is reversed very, very quickly. And I talked about this earlier on the show with Mike and Nick. I think you had an opportunity to sell into this move here. I don't think that anything, regardless of how this evolves, what transpires here, I don't think anything has really changed in the short term. So you have pretty bearish kind of structure in the markets. We look at things like Solana. I've got Solana down 24% year to date, but more so in the last month, down about 40%. That's a bit more than a correction. I'd call that a crash. Bitcoin down 15% in the last month. ETH down 35%. You name it. Dogecoin back under 20 cents, down 40%. A couple areas where you probably could have been able to hide out for a little while at least. Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash looked slightly better at times. But it's been rough in the streets, as they like to say, Katie. And this did reverse some of that recent bearishness that we experienced over the last month of February, but has again completely reversed. And in some cases, I look at Doge, I look at ETH here. You are plumbing fresh lows. If we hold on to these prices, we don't bounce from here. You'll have a new lower close.
Okay.
So that's the strategic reserve. I do think that at some point you will get something. Now, does it include XRP, Solana, Cardano? I don't know.
Okay. There was no timeline associated.
There's no details ever.
Okay, no amount. No. Got it. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that.
And I'm not anti-Trump or anything like that. I mean, I think we got to approach this objectively. We're going to criticize all the politicians all the time.
Salt all the time.
And so no detail here, pumping some bags, speculation that this was front run. If you look at some of the positioning in perpetual futures, a trader took on a position that a 2% down move would have wiped out the entire thing, given how levered it was, I think 50x. So somebody always knows something, which is true, regardless of, I think, the asset that you're trading. But again, no detail. This could simply just be, I wouldn't say so much a negotiating tactic, but a little trial balloon.
Sure.
I would assume, I would assume a crypto strategic reserve for the United States would require congressional approval. And I think it's hard to argue that things like XRP or Cardano should be in that. If anything, I'm assuming it's probably market cap weighted. So to get a sense of what that might look like, I jump over to CoinMarketCap.
Yeah.
And Bitcoin dominance right now is 61%.
Right.
So let's say it's 60% Bitcoin, or it's more than 50% Bitcoin. And then the rest, if Ethereum is in this, would be ETH. Ripple, sure, it has a higher market cap right now, or XRP. I keep saying the name of the company. I'm trying to change that. It's XRP is a token, Solana, but it might just be symbolic.
Sure.
At best.
Because like, wasn't the whole thing too like, oh, those were American-made coins?
Yeah.
Made by American.
Yeah. American companies.
Sure.
If you want to look at it that way. Also, XRP, Ripple donated a nice chunk of change to the Trump campaign. I think around $5 million or so. So it kind of feels slimy a little bit. You look at David Sachs, his investment, I believe, or association with Bitwise, and then the tokens associated with some of the products there. And I'm not saying that any of this is true. There's a lot of speculation out there. But if you just went to Twitter, or if you've been on Twitter and X, over the last 24 hours, crypto Twitter did not like this in the way that maybe you would have anticipated.
Sure. Okay, so there was.
I really didn't see anybody say anything positive.
Sentiment. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
why do you think that is? Is because like it was just so vague? It just, like you said, felt like kind of like a par-baked thing, or like why do you think that is?
If I were to look at a strategic reserve and we think about gold as a strategic reserve, or many central banks hold gold, many sovereign nations hold gold, the U.S. does as well, hundreds of billions of dollars of it, then you kind of lean towards Bitcoin being that strategic asset, maybe ETH. So the U.S. has this digital reserve of digital gold, Bitcoin, and oil, ETH, if that's how you think about it. It starts to get weird when we're just picking and choosing our favorite tokens. XRP, Solana, ADA. Why not Doge?
Right.
Why not Tesla stock? Right? Why not a strategic reserve of equity investments? And I get that it's not exactly the same thing, but I think that's what really rubbed everybody the wrong way here.
Okay. Yeah.
And that was clearly the sentiment on X.
Got it. Okay.
This just definitely was not received very well. And I think rightly so.
Yeah. So you don't think, in your opinion right now, it's worth even spiraling into like, what does this mean for liquidity and regulation and staking and
I think regulation, staking, those are the things that probably matter. I think this is a very short-term distraction that, just given how oversold, how beaten up the market was, inevitably you were going to get a bounce, and you need a catalyst in this case. And I think in many cases going forward, we'll see that the catalyst is often going to be a post on X.
Right.
That's what we experienced previously. But I don't think there's really much here. And the price action that you're seeing in the market tells you just about everything you need to know. We are getting slammed back down, have retraced the entire up move. When I look at things like Solana, ETH is at a lower price than it was before this happened. Looking at XRP, hasn't fully retraced the move, but I expect that it does.
Yeah.
It's almost there. And maybe Cardano has held on. I don't have it on my watch list here. So I think the price action is telling you everything you need to know. Going forward, you want to focus on regulation over the next year. These are the things that matter. I believe that you'll get, because we've seen this kind of moving through, stablecoin legislation. I think there's possibly regulation that could be a tailwind to DeFi, and that should support ETH. And you could get, in some cases, some clarity around staking, which are all huge catalysts and I think very bullish. I do think we're in a very bullish environment. There's a lot on the horizon. It's just when things like this happen and these details come out with XRP, Sol, ADA, and not that there even should be a Bitcoin strategic reserve or a crypto strategic reserve. I don't think that crypto needs that at all. I made the point earlier, we're not investing in gold because the United States holds hundreds of billions of dollars worth of it, right? So those are, again, the things that you want to focus on and try not to get too distracted. If anything, just be aware that there's probably going to be more of this that happens. Trade it accordingly.
Yeah.
You need a process. You need some sort of framework. We like to look at those implied volatility derived expected moves. And you want to buy a little bit at the bottom, knowing that it's going to be fluid, and you want to take some off the table when you do get those rips. So if you were buying last week and you were able to sell out yesterday into this morning, you've missed most of that move now. But that was a good trade. And I think, you got to continue to play it that way.
Yeah, fair enough. I really appreciate that interpretation of it because there is so much noise. And today particularly, there was a lot to sift through. So hearing you kind of summarize it as somebody who has been very native and comfortable in this space, whereas I'm not there yet, is good to hear.
Yeah, I just think that we can't get too tied to whatever President Trump is going to tweet about or say as it relates to digital assets, because if that's the only thing that matters in this space, or the only thing that's driving this space, then there's probably less of a reason for a lot of people to be in it versus self-sovereignty and kind of a new financial system and really what this technology can lend itself to,
Right.
which is what I'm excited about. You want to be focused on projects that offer real-world use cases, are real in some cases. Utility, that's going to drive users, right? You have chains that facilitate development activity, whether that's Solana, it's Ethereum, or it's others, then you're going to have novel use cases that provide utility, provide value, and it's going to drive users to the space. And ultimately, over time, that's going to increase value and will increase prices.
All right.
Which is no different than how you might think about individual companies that you want to invest in over the long term.
Yeah, I think that's a great parallel.
So all that said, those are some thoughts on the strategic reserve stockpile. At the very least, maybe the U.S. doesn't sell some of the crypto that it holds. I think a couple 100,000 Bitcoin from various seizures. But we shall see. Things are moving quickly.
They sure are. Some would say too quickly. Well, that's why, like you said, size matters. Taking risk off the table, identifying opportunities and extremes in ways that make sense for your risk tolerance are the name of the game.
Yeah, you want to trade this, right? I mean, you can have a core position. I think you have to have a long-term view. That's the way that I approach it, at least. But if you want to trade this short-term, you want to add to those dips. You're in an environment that, as I've said, is probably going to frustrate people until we get more clarity on the regulatory front. There really aren't that many catalysts. We will have I believe there's some sort of conference to discuss details possibly around this on Friday, March 7th. So stay tuned. There's going to be a lot of chop. We have seen volatility pick up a little bit, and I guess that's what maybe we should hone in on. So these prices are a little stale. I've got 85,850 on the screen, but I've got a quote of 86.7. So things are whipping around, but you can see a lot of red on the screen. This does
$900 off. How dare you? Or whatever.
Yeah, it's not much in crypto terms, or at least as it relates to Bitcoin, but this is short-term bearish. We have called this out for the last month or so. I think a lot of this is driven by an unwind due to larger macro factors. Correlations have come down a little bit if we just jump over there. Still positively correlated, but I think the thing to key in on is that you've got a VIX that I believe, if you've got it up on your screen, Katie, I think we got a VIX north of 20.
Yeah, we do. I think last time I checked, it was like 23 something. I don't know where we finished the day at.
Yeah, so the S&P was down about 2% at one point. If that continues, which I think there's no reason to believe that you aren't going to get volatility on both sides here in the short term, then it's going to be tough for Bitcoin prices or crypto prices across the market to just go up every day like everybody wants. Mm-hmm. So again, trade accordingly. We have lost the bottom of the range that we were in, which was called about 108, 110 or so to the upside and about 90, 92 to the downside. You need to retake that before I think, in the short term, you're a bit more constructive here. But if volatility is in this regime north of 20 for some time, then it's, again, going to be a period of weakness in crypto. And a lot of this is driven by a little bit of a growth scare in the economy. I think you're going to see when the inflation print comes out for February here this month, we're going to see if that has slowed down a little bit. We'll probably be talking about rate cuts more so. Going forward, can all change in a moment, though.
So really quickly before we move on, so we've talked about this a little bit, and I always think about this as it pertains to like pairs in equity indices, where when I was learning with Pete or something like that, we would talk about, okay, even if both of them are weaker, like what you were showing and across the board with crypto at the moment, outside of Doge, I believe, year to date, yeah, thank you. Outside of Litecoin, I guess, like you kind of alluded to, Bitcoin is still the strongest. So as you mentioned, if you were to start to dabble and participate on maybe buying into a little bit of this weakness, would you go with the least weak of these which is Bitcoin.
Yeah, I think so. At this stage, right, everybody's waiting for that altcoin rally. What we've seen historically with these kind of 4-year cycles post-Bitcoin halving, the Bitcoin halving was last year. The most recent one was last year in April. So we are not yet 1 year post-halving. We don't have much data to go off of. It hasn't been around that long. But if you look at the prior cycles, we've topped out at some point around 500-ish days post-Bitcoin halving. At that point, you have, leading up to that in the market, seen some crazy shit. That's the best way to describe it. Prices that just go to levels that no one could ever really fathom. They don't stay there. Everybody talks about how big of a bubble it is, and then inevitably it does correct and typically takes you back near, when we think of it in Bitcoin terms, near the prior high from the previous cycle.
Sure.
That's at least what we've observed. Whether that happens going forward or not, anyone's guess. But that's what everybody's playing for. Because if it does happen and you're right and you're aware of it at the time, then you're going to have some just insane levels to sell into. Everybody's got a bag and they're just waiting for the bags to pump. Maybe they already did. Maybe 110 on Bitcoin or 108, wherever we kind of topped out at. Maybe that was it. That was the gift. I don't know. We're going to keep an eye on it. I think that what this is contingent on is more so zero interest rate policy, QE. When you look at when this has happened previously, it was a bit of a different macro environment or a different policy environment than the one that we're in. Right. But arguably, we're heading towards that environment. So it could still be in the cards. That said, you could go a lot lower in some of this stuff in the meantime. So my way to play this or approach it is to primarily hide out in Bitcoin. I think if you look at portfolio structure, you want to be heavily weighted towards something like Bitcoin, larger market cap. I look at market cap dominance or Bitcoin dominance right now of 61%. That hasn't changed. It's been stuck there for months. That's a multi-year high. When that starts to roll over, you don't have to time it perfectly. That could be your signal. We haven't gotten that signal. I look at ETH BTC. It continues to move lower and lower. If we were in an environment where we were going to see a massive altcoin rally, and I think even just yesterday, people thought, oh, this is the beginning of that, given what was mentioned in that tweet for the strategic reserve. If we were going to see that, then that ratio would look a lot different than it does. For now, you want to hide out, I think, in something like Bitcoin if you're going to be in this asset class. It's just simply going to be less volatile. And we know that as these volatilities pick up, those exposures get taken down. This is a very levered space as well. And so you just can't hold on to those positions. You get auto-liquidated.
Right. How are you approaching liquidity pools right now?
So I think that's where there's an opportunity. But when you are putting on a liquidity pool, you're providing liquidity to, let's say, Uniswap. Uniswap is a decentralized exchange, is facilitated by an automated market maker, which uses liquidity pools. We've talked about that here on the show. If you're not familiar with it, go and check out some of the prior content on TastyCrypto. When you put that trade on, you are implicitly short volatility.
Yep.
You want high volume, but you don't want these massive swings that are going to get outside of the range that you're providing liquidity within.
Right.
So I think you have to be aware of that. You probably have to model a higher volatility when you put on your trade. So if implied vol for ETH right now is 72, maybe you create a range that is a one standard deviation based on the spot price and an 80% or 85% vol, or you just model a higher volatility level and you have a wider range as a result.
Right.
But these are also periods of time where there's a ton of volume going through. If you have a wide range and you're just now coming to the market and establishing that position, it could be very lucrative. It might also be an opportunity to sell call options against an IBIT position in the more traditional sense. Sure. So there's a lot of ways to approach the market, but in terms of how I would think about liquidity pools, I would also stay in larger cap stuff with a dollar base. So ETH USDC versus, like, I'll just randomly pick on something that's for sure blown up. ETH degen. Right. Now you've got two volatile cryptocurrencies versus a crypto in ETH terms and then a stable in US dollar terms. So that's how I would approach that.
Okay. I mean, all the logic is there. I just wanted to gut check you on that. Like, you're sticking to where the liquidity and the stability, I say in very heavy air quotes.
Yes. I mean, there might be some stuff that when you look at the meme space, the AI tokens, the agents, a lot of what was popular just a couple of months ago that's really blown up now, there might be some diamonds in the rough, but you might be waiting a while for that to come back if it does come back. So I think you want to be in larger market cap stuff. You want to be where there's liquidity, especially in these periods of time where there's a lot more volatility, there's a lot more uncertainty. And this is tied to I think the idea that, look, we might not have as strong of an economy as everybody wants to believe. And so if that's where we are at this point in time, that's a phase you get through. Ultimately, you get a reaction function out of a central bank like the Federal Reserve, right, and that does pump asset prices back up. But how much lower do you go in the meantime? And if we are going to go lower, I want to be in the thing in this space that's maybe a 60 vol versus the 95.
Yeah, well said. How time has flown. I'm so happy to be back with you.
Yeah, it's good to be back on the show. Thanks for coming on the show, Katie. One more time, we've got 5 tokens launching here. I don't know if they're out yet or not, but Shiba Inu, SHIB, S-H-I-B, Cardano, ADA, AVE, AVAX, Avalanche, and Chainlink, L-I-N-K.
Love it.
All coming to the TastyTrade platform very, very soon, and we'll have more that will follow.
Yeah, more and more robust, and I'm excited to learn about some of those coins because we have not touched a lot of them.
Yeah, on Wednesday, Shelly's going to be back on the show with me. We're going to walk through these, and then when you are back on Monday, we will we'll cover that again and talk about some of the differences here, because now we're getting into tokens that represent projects and applications beyond just blockchain networks. So there's some nuance to this.
Love it. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, Katie, as always, thanks for coming on the show. That's going to do it for the Tasty Crypto Show. I will be back on Wednesday. Until then, I'm Ryan.
I'm Katie.
Peace.
Peace.